Hey, this is Matt once again. What about the videos is a paid request this time for Gia. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of topics or reviews, randomness, out of the blueness, whatever the case may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both things are down below in the info box. Now, today you want a comparison of Superman the movie from 1978 and Man of Steel. Now, right off the bat, for me, it's easy. For me, it's Superman the movie with Christopher Reeve. Now, you chalk it up to nostalgia. You chalk it up to you grew up with the film more, Matt. So, of course, you're more into that. Just that people would make fun of the way the film looks, or the way it's dated, or it's corny. There was all these words and phrases about it. But Superman the movie, to me, captures the heart of the character, the spirit of the character. I think is the Superman movie that captures that the best. I really do. It's one of those things where when I look at Superman the movie and I look at the way Richard Donner directed scenes like his dad dying because of a heart attack, all his powers I couldn't save him, hunting his mom, and that sweeping shot of the rows of corn, of just showcasing the blue-collar nature of the land and where Clark Kent came from, and this is the kind of person he is, and it just made it feel like such a bigger, epic movie. It just captures that kind of, weird to say American spirit, but just that spirit of feeling like a kid. Feeling like a kid, knowing you're in the hands of someone that treats this with respect and with heart. And I really feel that and then some with Superman the movie. And I'm sorry for fans of Man of Steel, I do not feel that at all in Man of Steel, because I don't think Zack Snyder's that type of director. I think Richard Donner is. Even a film like Lethal Weapon, I still felt the humanity between Riggs and Murtaugh and Mel Gibson's character being suicidal and all that. And I still feel the humanity between those characters in the sequels. You know, despite him and Bill Murray not getting along, I felt the humanity of Bill Murray's character growing to be a better person in the film Scrooged. Richard Donner, may rest in peace. I think he could do action well, but he is much more about the heart and character of the piece. Zack Snyder is more about the style and action, spectacle. People love that, to each their own. Sometimes I can love that as well, but I think Superman the movie just captures that spirit of who Superman is a lot more. When I compare the stories, the origin of Superman, Lex Luthor, other than the third act with turning the world around, which I've never been a fan of, as much as I like Superman the movie, I hate that shit. Because if he could turn the world here and turn back time, why can't he do that all the time? It just, to me, it opens up a lot of doors that just didn't need to be opened up to begin with. It just seemed like an easy fix for a complicated answer. That's just me. Which I know that was not what... The ending was not supposed to be that. It was supposed to be the end of the second movie. It was supposed to be 2 movies back to back, but they stopped the second movie being made just to see how this first movie does. So in case we don't have another one, let's put that... I guess to make it like a bigger ending. But just have Superman do his super speed, save, and do that. So anyway. Just my take on it. But I still more invest in this story compared to Man of Steel. And okay, if I go from the beginning, if I compare the origin, yes, I prefer the way Krypton looks in the 70s movie. I prefer It felt more like an alien world to me, of all these crystals and the way people are dressed, the way it looks, and it looks cold and barren, but at the same time, there's a society that think they know more than they really do, and I could feel the alienness of this world, and the fact it's all done practical just makes it feel more tangible. With Man of Steel, it was a lot of CGI, and I know a lot of people like that scene, but it was, well, we have to have some action focus in there, so get some action sequences in there. So Zod in them, and get some action, and Russell Crowe doing some action, and I just didn't feel as much emotionally with that opening compared to Superman, the 70s movie. That one shot of the people screaming, going to their deaths, and then cut to silence, and then the planet blows up, that still is more haunting to me than anything in Man of Steel. Because I remember as a kid, oh my god, all these people are, you see just hundreds of people falling to their death screaming for someone to save them. Then silence. And it's like, oh shit. They had that visceral reaction. I didn't feel that in Man of Steel. I think Russell Crowe did a fine enough job, just like I think Marlon Brando did a fine enough job. The music. I actually like the music in Man of Steel by Hans Zimmer. But I'm sorry, that can't compete for me with John Williams. Because that score is one of the best scores in films. Like, the entire score is great to listen to. And the Superman theme is one of the best themes in movie history. It's one of the best pieces John Williams ever composed. I still go back and what my favorite piece of John Williams music is. Indiana Jones or Superman. And sometimes on days I would go, oh, Superman. This is my favorite John Williams score. It's so iconic. I think the Man of Steel score is good. I think the Superman John Williams story is iconic. And anytime I think of Superman, that theme pops up. I think for a lot of people, they feel the same way. So then I looked at the parents. Kevin Costner and, oh my god, I forgot her name. I like the actress too. I can't believe I forgot her name. I don't mind the actors in it. Diane Lane? I think it's Diane Lane. But the way it's written and the way it's directed, the way it makes it seem as if Superman is trying to help people, and he's like, well, what, am I supposed to let him die? And Kevin Costner goes, maybe? It just seems like the ideals put upon Superman makes him the angsty piece of shit Superman that he became. Just these weird ideals that he put into it, like, just take care of yourself, just worry about yourself, don't worry about anybody else. Maybe that's not what it was intended, but that's how it came out about with me. With those type of conversations with him and his dad. When I looked at the 70s film, sadly there's not a lot of time put into it, but what's there is, there's not a lot of time between the family and when he was a boy, as cuts to when he's a teenager. But I still like that bit with Glenn Ford. I'm bad with names, so I believe it's Glenn Ford. I love the speech where, you were put here for a reason. And let me tell you, it's not to score touchdowns. And there's a warmth, like instantly there's a warmth I feel between Pa Kent and this teenage Clark Kent. I just feel that warmth from the actor. And I'm like, okay, if this is the guy who is his support, who he grew up with, I just see why Superman became the guy he became in that movie. And they're playing around, let's race each other, and then The way Paul Kent dies, it's heartbreaking in the 70s one. Because he's thrown. And he has a heart attack. Relatable, sadly. A lot of people have gone through it. You can see why Superman, there's nothing he could do. He can fight a lot of things. He can't fight a heart attack. Especially that instant. And it makes for a much more emotional transition of them with all those powers, and I couldn't save him. And knowing that he's got to go on his journey to find himself. And yeah, that sweeping shot of the fields and the John Williams music and such a good emotional transition. Here, there's tornadoes. At Terrataster goes, talk to the hand, Clark. Talk to the hand. I know you could save me, because you're faster than a speeding bullet. And people go, well, they don't want their son to be found out. If you're a teenager, if you're a young adult, your dad's in trouble. He's gonna die. Will you be selfish or selfless? I think a lot of people would be selfless. Yeah, I know you told me to do it, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Because that's who I am. I want to help other people. Instead, no, I'm going to listen to my dad because my dad told me I better be more selfish and take care of myself. So by doing that, then Terran Crosser gets swallowed up by a fucking CGI tornado. Still doing the talk to the hand, Clark, as he goes to death. When he could have easily saved his dad. That makes me not like the character. Made me go, you stupid, you moron, you idiot, what you doing? You selfish prick, what the fuck? Don't listen to your dad at this point, he was wrong. It makes me not respect the Pa Tan character, it makes me not respect Superman. You can disagree all you want, if you like the film, to me is fucking dumb. I thought Margot Kidder and Christopher Reeve had much better chemistry than Henry Cavill and I already forgot who played Lois Lane in those movies. I just thought in the 70s there was just better chemistry. And Henry Cavill, sure he's a nice guy. Maybe it's just the material he was given. He just didn't bring that I could trust this guy like Christopher Reeve did. Just this is Superman. This is the guy that has all the powers in the world. But he's got to make you believe that we could trust him because he's the guy who's going to save the day for truth, justice, and the American way. Christopher Reeve brought that warmth with the smile, the demeanor, the way he talked to people, where he wasn't confrontational. While here, anytime Henry Cavill, he looked like he was ready to rip your head off. I still remember the end of that film where the military wanted to talk to him, and Superman went up and just fucking body slammed an airplane and pretty much said, leave me the fuck alone. Well, no wonder they think you're a fucking threat if this is how you act. That's the thing, is that Superman has all these powers. He is so powerful, so now he could teach us to hopefully be a better person. Because I have all these powers, but I'm not going to do what people think I should do and do bad things because of my upbringing, because it's not the right thing to do. And despite me being more powerful, I'm the guy that chooses the right course of action that most people would think are uncool or corny or whatever to do, but I'm the one that's got the absolute power, so I'm the one that needs to make the right decisions. And people say, well, it's a young Superman, he's conflicted. Then, I'm sorry, Zack Snyder is not the right director. He's not the right director. I can't even talk. The director. He's not the right guy to showcase those emotions. He's not the right guy to showcase that drama. He's not that guy. I like Dawn of the Dead remake. I can watch 300. I can watch Watchmen. But it's not because of the emotional pathos of those movies. It's not. At least it's more of the visual punch that some of those movies give for entertainment value. And Zack Snyder could be competent in that very well. In that type of direction. Although in Man of Steel, yeah, it has more action, but it's action I don't really care about because it's going here to here to here, flying here, up close to there, and then the punching and all that stuff. Going through 85 buildings. It just wasn't that interesting to me. Like, I love action, but I love action in terms of Die Hard, Cliffhanger, the first couple John Wick films, Rambo First Blood Part 2. Superhero action, I guess I'm just less interested in, unless, I like Iron Man, some of the Captain America movies, but going through like 85 buildings and blah blah blah, it just gets repetitive after a while, at least for me. It depends on your taste. And the villain. Sorry, Gene Hackman is a lot more of an charismatic, intelligent villain of Lex Luthor than Jesse Eisenberg. Oh, actually, that's Batman v Superman. That's not Man of Steel. I did not think of Lex Luthor. I'm getting ahead of myself. That's Batman v Superman. So, okay, villains like Lex Luthor. Gene Hackman does a great job. Michael Shannon I liked as an actor, but as Zod, I think it's an actor with a blasé written character. With given laughable moments. Like, I will find him! And, yeah, he's trying to give motivation of he doesn't look at himself as the villain, because we're here to save our race of people. If we have to kill this planet, oh well. I get what they're going for, but just the way the character's written, I don't think is as charismatic or as interesting compared to Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor. I just still smirk at Gene and Ned Beatty talk to each other. Otisburg? It's just a little thing there. Miss Tesmaka! There's still moments, like when Gene Hackman yells, I don't think it's laughable, it's just more endearing to the character. Here, I just didn't feel it that way for Michael Shannon's Zod. Sorry. And when Superman is saving people, I'm like, okay, that feels like Superman in the 70s film. He feels like he wants to do this. He just say truth, justice, the American way, and you don't roll your eyes at it, because he truly believes the way Christopher Reeve played it. In Man of Steel, it felt like, okay, he's saving people to be fair. He saves I forget what the facility was. That's when he has no shirt on and he's lifting stuff up. So he's saving people. But I don't really feel like he's doing it because he wants to. He's doing it because I gotta go to work. I gotta go save these people. These dumb fucks. That's what I feel like when it comes to Henry Cavill's Superman. You just say, well, you want the same thing? I want it to be in the same ballpark as the character. Otherwise, just have a different character. I'm not asking for a carbon copy, but in the same vicinity. Otherwise, okay, then it's... Okay, well, what is it about a personality that would make it from Superman to not Superman? I would ask people that. No, I'm not talking about the extreme where he goes killing people. I mean, like, okay, he's still a good guy, but how much do you change the personality and still keep it Superman? And how much of it do you change till it becomes not Superman-like? How much do you change? For some people, that's a thin line. It's a razor-thin line. Some people, it's not. For me, it just didn't feel like Superman. It didn't seem like Superman. It didn't sound like Superman. I looked at Dean Cain on Lois and Clark. I looked at the animated cartoons, Tim Daly. I still got the Superman vibe, and they weren't just copying Christopher Reeve. Henry Cavill, I didn't really feel that. I did. Maybe it was the way he was directed. Maybe it was the way the script was. This David Goyer was a part of it. Which, I mean, he did work job on the work of Blade and Blade 2. He's also the same guy who I remember there's a bit where, how many of you have heard of She-Hulk? No, how many of you have heard of? It was a thing where it was a two-parter. She-Hulk, she was just made to fuck the Hulk. I just not knowing that she's the Hulk's cousin. This is well before the She-Hulk TV show, which she might as well fuck the Hulk in that show, since he's such a fucking giant, jolly green giant pussy in that show. But this is well before that. So he thought She-Hulk was there created to fuck the Hulk, not knowing there was the cousin. Also, who has heard of Martian Manhunter? People raise their hands. How many of you guys have been laid? And this is a guy that would go to help write Justice League. Or at least building up to it and all that. I'm like, yep, that's a great guy to get to do these films. And I say, I think Zack Snyder was just the wrong choice. If you look up interviews, he got in the comic books for the violence and sex. He literally said that. Watchmen introduced in the comics, he said, wow, comics aren't just corny stuff. There's going to be violence and sex in them. I like that to be more for adults and more for this. That's why he got into comics. That's why he really wanted to do films like 300 and Watchmen. That's more his wheelhouse. Not Superman. You know what? I think he'd actually be capable of doing a Punisher movie. I do. That's more his wheelhouse, the Punisher. Not Superman. Like, your ideals and thoughts, Zach, is total opposite of Superman. That's why, to me, he wasn't a great fit. He just was not a great fit, at least to me. Richard Donner was. You know, for similitude, I can't remember the word he kept thinking over and over again. It was something like that. For similitude, probably said it wrong. Respect. He really wanted to respect what came before in the character. Here it's like, oh, here's a guy who has these superpowers, not to really blow shit up and wreck a lot of shit and have a lot of these big fights and go through 85 buildings and have 9/11 times 11 spectacle for your finale. That didn't interest me. If it did you, good on you. Different strokes for different folks. The more emotion, even though I don't like the spinning around the world, I still like the emotion of him finding Lois dead and him being in pain and that shrieking anger, and he's going to do something he's not supposed to, but he does it anyway. Although there's no consequences to doing it. So I at least like, I might not like the physicality of it all, but the emotional part of it I do like at the end of that movie. In Man of Steel, it looks like goddamn Skynet had just leveled Metropolis. Skynet has come in and dropped the bomb. But here's Superman dealing with Lois Lane and them kissing. Don't you want to get up and look for survivors and see who's here? Remember when people said, oh no, there's nobody in that city? And then the next movie, there were people in the city, including Bruce Wayne himself. So much for it being vacant and empty. Then the next movie, oh, here's Bruce Wayne and his co-workers are being demolished and he's trying to save people, and go figure. See, I think Superman, the 70s one, just was a better put together movie that respected the character more and showcased more of the heart and spirit. Helped with the warmth of Christopher Reeve's performance. I don't know about him as a person. I've heard at times he was a dickhead, which is too bad, but I mean, it is what it is. But he did a great job as a performer. And Man of Steel was a headache-inducing mess of a movie. I know people that will defend Man of Steel. Be my guest. I'm still not a fan of that film. My rant on it, I don't know if it's still up, but from back to the day, I still stand by what I said on that movie. With that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye bye.